Welcome back to Catterall's Corner here on Sporf. This is your official UFC 266 preview. Lots to talk about, two massive world title fights, and the return of an OG legend. Before I get stuck into the main event, let's talk about the UFC and where they're at right now. Over the next 42 days, you're going to see 6 undisputed title fights. The best taking on the best, and it all gets underway at UFC 266 with 2 title fights on this card. Right, first one is in that main event. We've got the featherweight championship on the line between Alexander Volkanovski and Brian Ortega. Volkanovski, the champion, must be absolutely salivating at the prospect of fighting some fresh meat because he's only been fighting Max Holloway since he became champ and obviously defending his belt. He's looking for something new to do and he's got it in the shape of Ortega. Ortega, fair play to him. About 3 years ago, I tipped this guy for the top. Then he ran into Max Holloway and he got lit up. Not many people can come back from a beating like that, but he has done. Last time out against Zombie, he looked absolutely tremendous, which sets us up for a cracking main event at UFC 266. The added narrative about this is that these two boys have been the top coaches on this season's Ultimate Fighter. If you remember, this fight was originally scheduled for earlier on in the year. Volkanovski got COVID, and then the UFC announced that these two would be the captains, the team leaders for the Ultimate Fighter. Imagine that narrative. Normally you go away, you go and do your own training camp away from your opponent, but these guys have been in each other's faces for a long period of time, winding each other up, getting under each other's skin, which kind of adds to the spice of the fight. Stylistically, you couldn't be better matched because you've got a former NRL semi-pro player in the shape of the UFC champion Alexander Volkanovski. He fights the way that he would probably play rugby. He likes to get up close, get his hands on you, dump you on your backside and dish out a bit of violence. Whereas Ortega traditionally is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu whiz, but in his last fight against Zombie, shows that he's got a little bit of hands. I'm gonna side though, if I have to make a pick, with the champ. I just think his pressure and the lessons that he would have learned from the second Max Holloway fight, where he started a little bit slow, will be eradicated. He'll start quick, he'll put pressure on Ortega, and I think he will have enough to see this out over the 25 minutes. Yeah, I said it. It's going the distance, in my opinion. Both men have the abilities to finish each other because of their unique skill sets, but I just think it's going to go the full 25 minutes, and the vicious ground and pound and relentless energy and cardiovascular output of Alexander Volkanovski will remain him as the UFC champion. In the co-main event, we've got the Women's Flyweight Championship on the line between Valentina Shevchenko and Lauren Murphy. Yes, Lauren Murphy is an underdog coming into this fight. Valentina Shevchenko might just be technically the best female mixed martial artist on the planet. This is her 6th title defense at 125. She's only struggled when she's gone up in weight to 135 to take on the great Amanda Nunes, and a lot of fans think in that second fight with Nunes, it was Shevchenko that should have had it arm raised. She didn't, and hopefully that kind of sets us up for maybe a third fight down the line. Do I give Lauren Murphy any hope to beat the great bullet herself, Valentina Shevchenko? If I'm honest, no. If she does pull this off, it'll be on the same realm as maybe a Matt Serra against Georges St. Pierre. It's one of those type of upsets, but that's not to say that she doesn't deserve the shot. Lauren Murphy most certainly deserves the shot. She's the number 3 ranked UFC flyweight. The reason why she's fighting Shevchenko is because she's on a great run, and Shevchenko's already beaten the number 1 and number 2. She's called for this fight. Her journey into mixed martial arts is absolutely fascinating. She only started this out to inspire her son to get more active. She took him down to the gym to show him a few things and to hopefully get him inspired. She ended up staying with the journey, and now she's fighting for the UFC Championship of the World, so that's to be commended. She'll have an awful amount of fans in the arena at the weekend rooting for that underdog. But if I'm honest, I think she's going to come up short. As I said, technically, I think Shevchenko might just be the best female mixed martial artist that we've seen ever. And Muay Thai is absolutely sensational. The grappling's unbelievable. And last time out against the number 1 contender, against Jessica Andrade, she beat the living daylights out of her, put her in a crucifix and just elbowed her with serious amounts of violence. I can only see this fight going very similar to that. It ain't going to last the full 25 minutes. Shevchenko's going to stop Murphy. It's just a question of when. Will Murphy get beyond the halfway point? Listen, she's tough and she may just do that. Can't see it though. It's going to finish in the first half of the fight. Maybe in the second round, Shevchenko via vicious ground and pound. Let's be honest. Yes, there's 2 title fights on at UFC 266, but there's only one fight that you're talking about. Nick Diaz's return, taking on Robbie Lawler. This rematch is 17 years in the making. The first time that this fight took place at UFC 47, I had a full head of hair. In fact, Dana White had a full head of hair, as did Joe Rogan and Robbie Lawler himself. Go back and watch those videos. It's a full carpet on the top of that guy's mullet, let me tell you. Anyway, what a fight that was way back when in 2004 when Nick Diaz stopped Robbie Lawler with a sensational shot which made him faceplant. Can he do it again? Nobody knows. Nobody knows, because we haven't seen Nick Diaz fighting mixed martial arts for the last 6 years. We know what he's going to try and do. We know what type of fighter he is. That's not going to change, but can the body still do it? It's fantastic matchmaking, this, because Lawler himself, who's a former welterweight champion, an absolute legend of the game, he's on a bit of a skid, 1-4 in his last 5 fights. So the matchmaking, you would think, is absolutely perfect. The narrative's perfect because these guys have been at it previously as well. And of course, it's Diaz. Everybody's buzzed up for a Diaz. When he walks out into this arena on Saturday night, the noise is going to be unbelievable. I'm jealous that I'm not there. What's going to happen in the fight? What I'm about to say is a pure guess, because like I said, we don't know where Diaz is at now as a mixed martial artist, and we kind of know where Robbie Lawler's at, and we know what he's going to bring. Is that going to be enough to get retribution over his old mate? I'm going to be romantic with my pick. I'm going to say that we're going to get the exact same thing that we got at UFC 47, a Nick Diaz knockout. He's going to be better than ever. I know that that's like a Peter Pan type story, but he's going to look great. He's kept himself in fantastic nick. We all know about his fantastic efforts in the world of triathlons. The cardio's going to be there. I think the 5-round fight kind of plays into his hands. Of course, Lawler's going to come out. He's going to come out fast. He's going to put it on Diaz, and he might have him in a bit of trouble early doors. But because this fight is over 25 minutes and not 15, as a co-main event, which is obviously unusual, I would favour Nick Diaz to come through that, and I think he's going to stop Robbie Lawler once again. Boom. Make sure you tune in. So there you have it. 2 title fights and a returning legend at UFC 266. But before I wrap up my preview of this fantastic event, I have to mention a fight that's taking place on the prelims. Dan Hooker is taking on Nasrat Haqparast. The narratives around this fight are absolutely sensational. You've got to tune into it. First and foremost, condolences to Haqparast, who announced on Instagram last week that his mother has sadly passed away, but he's going to continue with the fight and he will show up at UFC 266. I also believe that he's had trouble as well with his visa in order to get into the country to get to the fight, which in itself, as everybody knows right now with the travel restrictions, is a real pain in the backside. No more so for Dan Hooker. He's in New Zealand. New Zealand's in lockdown at the moment. There's very limited amounts of flights coming out of New Zealand straight to Las Vegas. He hadn't had his visa until the start of this week. This is his plan. Let me tell you what he's going to do in order to make this fight happen. He's been granted his visa on Monday. This sounds like a Craig David song, by the way. He's then going to continue his camp in New Zealand right up until the only flight out of the country on Thursday. He's going to cut weight on the plane on Thursday. He's going to attempt to make weight on Friday, and then he's going to try and fight on Saturday. Fair play, man. And that just drives home what a crazy, crazy game this is. What a way to make a living for these guys. Best of luck to the pair of them. Best of luck to every fighter that is on this card at the weekend, all for our entertainment. Make sure you tune in and come back next week for more Catterall's Corner as we review the mayhem.